You're watching KRQE News 13 on Fox, New Mexico.
We often think of New Mexico as a tricultural state, Hispanic, Anglo, and Native American. But we may be overlooking the impact of one of our communities, which we recognize today as we close Black History Month. Joining us to talk about Black history in New Mexico, we are joined by none other than celebrity historian Raffi Andonian. Good morning, Raffi.
Good morning.
Welcome. Always so much fun having you on this morning. Tell us a little bit about the Buffalo Soldiers and who they were, who they are.
Buffalo Soldiers.
Yeah. Great song.
In the heart
Great
of
song.
America,
Yeah.
right? Legends and Bob Marley's song is a movie with Danny Glover featured as well. So kind of legendary figures. Now they start in 1866 when there is a Congress creates a regiment, or several regiments of black soldiers. Now black soldier service goes, for that period, it goes back to the Civil War because initially black soldiers are joining as former enslaved people to prove themselves and get treated with dignity. Well, that carries over after the Civil War when Congress creates that. Now, they, after the Civil War, fight in the Plains Wars, as it's known, in the effort of westward expansion against tribal peoples. And they acquired the name Buffalo Soldiers because some American Indians would look at them and they saw they had darker skin and curly hair and fought really well. And so they gave them that nickname, Buffalo Soldiers. Now, what's fascinating is there is reason to believe that they fought really well. So the Buffalo Soldiers formed about 10% of the American military. But despite being given lesser resources, lesser equipment, they actually had lower desertion rates. That means they stayed in the Army at higher rates. And 19 Medal of Honor winners from the Buffalo Soldiers will come out. So they had a record of very good service. And eventually that was part of the reason that the first person was admitted born into slavery, but later becomes the first person at West Point Academy who's black to then graduate and eventually become an officer.
Wow. How does their story connect with New Mexico?
There's 4,000 of the Buffalo Soldiers that are in New Mexico. Remember I said it's part of a westward expansion. They're overseeing national parks, fighting with tribal peoples. Well, they're in New Mexico in many forts, including Fort Union. And Fort Union, if you go there today, you will find sidewalks that they built that you can actually go and check out, which I've done myself, which is really cool. And then on top of that, in what ties to the story is because these people were here, and Rutherford B. Hayes, who was president in the late 1870s, and whose silver coin I have right here that the U.S. Mint just put out in the last few weeks. You're seeing the head side and the tail side. Rutherford B. Hayes, when he came to Santa Fe, New Mexico, the Buffalo Soldiers Regimental Band is who entertained the presidential party. And by the way, that was the first time a president came to New Mexico. Is Rutherford B. Hayes, and Buffalo Soldiers greeted them. Now, one more story that is really cool in New Mexico with the Buffalo Soldiers is a story of William Cathay. William Cathay had been transferred. He joined in St. Louis. And then from St. Louis was transferred to Kansas and to New Mexico, multiple forts. Well, guess what? Including Fort Union. Well, guess what? When he's near the Silver City, one of the forts near Silver City, there's a problem medically. So goes in, and the surgeon discovers that the he is actually a she. She had disguised herself. Her actual name was Kathy Williams. She had changed it to William Cathay, so she could disguise herself so she could serve as part of this opportunity with the Buffalo Soldiers. That's how cool the story is. And it happens right here in New Mexico.
Super impressive. Yeah, how many of them stayed in New Mexico long term?
We don't have an exact number, but there are some key people that did. So one of them, for example, helped start the town of Vado down in southern New Mexico, which was designed as a freedman and all-black town when it first started in New Mexico. That's one of the legacies. Another one is a family that was down in Mexico and actually hung out with Pancho Villa and then came back to New Mexico and actually settled here in Albuquerque. And if you go to God's House Church, that's a church that they started right here in Albuquerque. And another family also was part of the East End edition in Albuquerque in the 1930s. So there's their fingerprints all over. Even though we don't have an exact number, we know that there are key places that they left a mark from their time here in New Mexico.
Very cool. Raffi, always so much fun having you on. If you'd like more information on the Buffalo Soldiers or on Raffi himself, you can head to our website that's always on, krqe.com. Stay with us.